In this new series, I'm going to be teaching my girlfriend how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, a couple of things I want to preface. She does know what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, and she has played a little bit. She's played a little bit of Master Duel. She got the Ray Raptor Rebellion, whatever it is, deck, and she's played a little bit with that. But all she does is click buttons. She doesn't really understand the fundamentals and what she's doing. She just clicks random buttons and prays. Can I teach her how to really play Yu-Gi-Oh! Starting from ground zero, a brand new deck that she's never played before, and building a ladder that she can then climb to teach her how to truly understand this game? This is how the series is going to work. She's going to have one deck. I'm going to have another deck. The deck that I have is going to be the deck that I want her to learn. So she's going to start out with Dinomorphias, the deck that I was just talking about that I think has a good chance of being a good deck this format. She's going to start out with that, and I'm going to start out with Tenpai Dragon Rulers. The way the goal works is we're going to have some kind of a threshold that she needs to meet in order to upgrade to my deck, at which point I will move on to another deck that I want her to learn. So something like Mitsurugi, Sky Striker, something like that. You guys can even comment what you want me to teach her. I will learn the deck and I will teach her how to play it. So she'll climb a ladder of progressively better and better and better decks. And at the end goal is to take her to some kind of a tournament, locals, regionals, maybe even a YCS, and see if she can get at least as many wins as she does losses, kind of break even. If I can do that, it will be considered a win. Now, without further ado, I'm going to show you what decks we're both working with, card by card. So, as I said, she's going to be playing Dinomorphias because it's a good, strong, powerful, but easy deck to learn, and I'm going to be playing Tenpai Dragon Rulers. So, that does mean you guys are basically going to be getting like a double deck profile here. So, I'm going to start with her deck, and then I'm going to move on to my deck. So for the main deck, if you guys have seen my last video, you pretty much know almost exactly what this is going to be consisting of here. We're going with 3 Theresia, 2 Diplos, 1 Misk, and then that's it for the monsters. I wanted to keep this as simple but as effective as I could for her. So 6 monsters, and then just a couple spells, just for a little bit of consistency and some staying power. So we're on 3 Fossil Dig, 3 Lost World, 1 Terraforming, and 1 Called by the Grave. This is, I think, all you really need for maximum consistency with maximum power. If you're not also doing stuff like the Mulcharmies or something like that. She doesn't fully understand the Mulcharmies yet, so I haven't included those because of that. But we're going to work up to that, and you'll see that in my deck. Now, for the big meat and potatoes, the trap cards. As we all know, Dinomorphia is pretty much made by their traps. So we're on 3 Frenzy, 3 Domain, 3 Intact, 1 Brute, and 1 Sonic. That's all for the Dinomorphia traps. And then I did keep in the Supreme King Zark stuff for her, just because it's not too hard to understand, and she can at least understand the concept of a 4,000 attack monster that's just there to put up some damage. 3 Ice Dragon's Prison. Largely, this is to help start training her about attributes. Because she's got types down pretty well, she's got levels down pretty well, but attributes need some work. So this is to help teach her about attributes. And it's also just pretty good. If she goes up against something like Fiendsmith, it's pretty good here. 3 Iron Thunder. This is to help teach her about columns. My deck, the Tenpai Dragon Ruler deck, has things like Imperm in it, so it relies on columns, and this is to help teach her about that. Plus, it's also a pay half life point card. 3 Debunk, and 3 Ferret Flames. Nothing really too complicated or hard to explain there, just general, easy Dinomorphia stuff. And the extra deck. I believe the extra deck is exactly the same as it was in my previous video. So 2 Rexterm, 3 Kentragina, 2 Stealth Bergia, 1 Zark, 1 Arcray Dragon. obviously the Dynamorphia stuff, and then you've got your Zark and Archray Dragon for the Soul of the Supreme King package. For the other part of that package, Crystal Clearing Synchro Dragon and the Brave Eyes Pendulum Dragon. Just good, strong monsters that if your opponent plays into the secondary effect of Soul of the Supreme King, you're able to just summon completely for free. Couple Xyz monsters, because she does know Xyz monsters, so we've got Dolka, Lagia, and Dugaris. And then a Typhon. So that is her deck. I really do think it's a simple enough deck that still is powerful enough that she's able to learn with. It's got trap cards, spell cards, and monster cards, so she's able to learn all three. It's got quick play spells, it's got field spells, and normal spells, so she's able to learn those. It's got traps and counter traps. It doesn't have any continuous traps, but those are simple enough to understand. They're just traps that stay up after you activate them. So it's got everything that she needs. The only type of monsters in this deck that this deck doesn't have are pendulums, which it sort of has in Zark, but it doesn't really act like a pendulum monster, and links. But those are simple enough to understand, and she'll learn them in my deck, which I'm going to get to now. So, getting into my deck, if you've watched me for a while, you probably know what to expect here. It's Tenpai Dragon Rulers, so 3 of each of the big Dragon Rulers. Just because it is the 60 card grass pile, and I do think that if you're playing 60, it's fine to play 3 of each name. I mean, if your opponent makes a board, you go second, you do something, they activate a monster card, or they do something like a Mulch Army on going first for you or something, and you have Thrust or Grass, you're milling 20. If you mill at least 1 of each Dragon Ruler, and then 12 other dragons, you have a disaster with his full immunity and all that on turn 1 right off the bat. 1 each of the babies, so 1 burner, 1 lightning, 1 reactant, 1 stream, and then the spectrals and the nebulous. I did decide to keep the nebulous just because it doesn't really do that much by itself, but when you draw it with other stuff, it does help a lot. And I want her to be able to understand that. So that is all for the main Dragon Ruler stuff. Getting into the Tenpai stuff, she does actually kind of understand the Tenpai stuff a little bit, because before we started this series, we had a couple just regular old games where we would just sit at our kitchen table and have a couple games, and I had her play Tenpai. So 3 Pydra, 1 Chundra, 1 Fadra, 2 Genroku, 1 Kaiman, 1 Summoning, and 3 Dora. I feel like this is fine. Good consistency with good simplicity. And again, she does sort of know a little bit of these already because of the casual games that we had, so she should be able to pick this stuff up pretty quickly. It's just the Dragon Rulers that she's going to have to really learn. Then for the hand traps that are also attributes, 3 Ash, 3 Fubulos, 3 Meowls, and 3 Perulia. One thing that I'm going to have to really help her learn is, unless it's for the baby Dragon Rulers, you're never discarding these as an attribute. You're banishing them as an attribute. So you're never discarding, or you're never banishing something like Ash with Blaster. If you are going to use it for its attribute, you're going to be discarding it off of something like Burner, or banishing it off of Blaster after you've already used it as a hand trap. And then board breakers. For pure board breakers, we have 3 Raigeki and 3 Dark Hole. This is a generally blind go second build. It can go first, but 99.999% of the time, if you win the dice roll, you're electing to go second, or if you lose it, you're hoping you go second. Other breakers: 3 Droplet, and 3 imperm. Imperm also could be considered a hand trap, but, however. Also kind of a board breaker because it can get your dark holes and Ragekis is 3 thrust, but mainly you're using thrusts to get to your That Grass Looks Greener. Then the extra deck. I believe the extra deck is card for card exactly the same as my last Tenpai Dragon build video. So 2 Bident, 1 Transcendent, 1 Trident. That is it for the Tenpai Synchros. And then the Dragon Ruler XCs are 2 Chasma, 1 Eclipse, 1 Disaster. For going first, we have a Hieratic Seal. And then we're not going to be playing with a side deck just yet. We're going to get to that eventually, but not yet. However, I do still have a Kui Belt for Shifter in the side. Black Rose, these are just extra level 7s. If I were to change this to fit the idea of not having a side deck, I would swap this out for something like Odd Eyes Pendulum Burst Dragon, or Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon, I think is what it is, or just some other level 7 Synchro monster. Or maybe you could even swap it out for an SP Loaded Knight, either one. Other rank 7s, Flare and Metal, number 11, and Dark Arm Rebellion. I think those are the only 3 extra XCs that you need. And then just for an extra dragon name going first, just a Striker Dragon. So that is it for the 2 deck profiles. This goal is to teach her. So I want to ask if you guys have any suggestions, tips, tricks, comments for her to learn. Please leave them down in the comment section below, but I do ask that you be respectful as she is still kind of new to the game and we don't want to hurt her feelings, right? We all want people to play this game. We want to have other people that we can play with. So leave ideas for her down in the comments below. Leave tips, tricks, helpful things to know, anything like that. But again, I just ask that you do be respectful just for her. But that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys liked it. If you really liked it, please consider hitting that like button. If you really, really loved it, please, please, please consider subscribing. I will see you all next week where we start episode 1 of this new series. And with that, don't drown.